Good morning. How are you all today? Thank you for visiting with us. Blessings to you and your family and friends. Thank you for visiting with us and welcome to Bible class with Andre and Betty. We're continuing our studies today in 1 Samuel. Today we're in chapter 22, and our subject is King Saul continue the search for David. And we'll see in this chapter some very interesting things. In this chapter also is the building up of David's mighty men that are spoken of later, or it may be in 2 Samuel. But we're in chapter 22, verse 1. David, therefore, after he left Gath, therefore departed thence from Gath, and Achish was the king, and escaped to the cave Adullam, which is a place of refuge. And when his brethren and all his father's house heard it, they went down thither to him. They followed him there. Verse 2, and everyone that was in distress, and everyone that was in debt, and everyone that was discontented gathered themselves unto David. And he became a captain or leader over them. And there were with him about 400 men. So these were gathered together, and they followed David because they are with him to escape King Saul's search to kill David. Verse 3, and David went thence from Adullam to Mizpah of Moab. And he said unto the king of Moab, let my father and my mother, I pray thee, come forth and be with you till I know what God will do for me. So he's protecting the families of his father and mother. And remember, Ruth was a Moabite. So Ruth is David's great-grandmother, and the people of Moab, he wanted them to keep his mother and father until he would know what God would do for him. Verse 4. And he brought them before the king of Moab, that is his father and mother, and they dwelt with him all the while that David was in the hold, in the stronghold, all the while he was running from Saul. And they stayed with the Moabites until then, until he was safe. Verse 5. And the prophet Gad said unto David, abide not in the hold, depart, and get thee into the land of Judah. Then David departed and came into the forest of Hareth. Verse 6. When Saul heard that David was discovered, and the men that were with him, and this is parenthetical or explanation in parentheses. Now Saul abode in Gibeah under a tree in Ramah, having his spear in his hand, and all his servants were standing about him. And now, when Saul heard that David was discovered, all he and his men, then Saul, in verse 7, said unto his servants that stood about him, Hear now, ye Benjamites. Will the son of Jesse give every one of you fields and vineyards, and make you all captains of thousands and captains of hundreds? He's setting up to bribe them to help him kill David. And now he's going to be paranoid. This is what happens when jealousy is not dealt with. It keep going into these bad things or emotions. He said, will they give you what I can give you? Verse 8, that all of you have conspired or plotted against me. And there is none that showeth me that my son hath made a league with the son of Jesse. And there is none of you that is sorry for me, or showeth unto me that my son hath stirred up my servant against me to lie in wait as at this day. So now he's making, they call it projection, when what they want to do, they make it applicable to somebody else. So he's feeling sorry for himself. Verse 9, then answered Doeg the Edomite, which was set over the servants of Saul, and said, I saw the son of Jesse coming to Nob, to Ahimelech the son of Ahitub, verse 10. And he, that is Ahimelech, inquired of the Lord for David, or him, and gave him food, the showbread, and gave him the sword of Goliath, the Philistine. And so when David went to Ahimelech, this man named Doeg was there with the priest. Verse 11, then the king, this is King Saul, sent to call Ahimelech the priest, the son of Ahitub, and all his father's house, the priests that were in Nob, and they came all of them to the king, to King Saul. Now this Ahimelech and Abiathar will be his son. They all come from Eli the priest that died because he didn't discipline his sons. In chapters 1, 2 of this book, maybe chapter 3 too. Verse 12, and Saul said, hear now, thou son of Ahitub. And he answered, here I am, my Lord. Verse 13, and Saul said unto him, why have you conspired against me, you and the son of Jesse, or thou and the son of Jesse, in that thou hast given him bread and a sword, and hast inquired of God for him, that he should rise against me to lie in wait, as at this day. Now, he didn't inquire of God for David, but he did give him bread and a sword. So Ahimelech said in verse 14, then Ahimelech answered the king and said, and who is so faithful among all thy servants as David, which is the king's son-in-law, and goeth at thy bidding, and is honorable in thine house? This is what Ahimelech is telling Saul. And then verse 15, did I then begin to inquire of God for him? Be it far from me. I didn't do that. Let not the king impute or charge anything unto his servant, nor to all the house of my father. And like I said, he's descendant of Eli, the priest. and Samuel was the last judge. For that servant knew nothing of all this, less or more. And the king said, Thou shalt surely die. Saul has murder in his heart to kill. Thou shalt surely die, Ahimelech, you and all thy father's house, thou and all thy father's house. Verse 17. And the king said unto the footmen that stood about him, we would call them boots on the ground. And the king said unto the footmen that stood about him, turn and slay the priest of the Lord. Now Ahimelech has told him he was not guilty, but he continued and killed all of them. So, and the king said unto the footmen that stood about him, turn and slay the priest of the Lord, because their hand also is with David, and because they knew when he fled and did not show it to me. But the servants of the king would not put forth their hand to fall upon the priest of the Lord. Verse 18. And the king said to Doeg, turn and fall upon the priest. And Doeg the Edomite turned, and he fell upon the priest, and slew on that day 85 persons. There would be 85 persons that did wear a linen ephod, and that's what a vest that the priests wore. Verse 19. And Nob, the city of the priests, smote he with the edge of the sword. This is Doeg doing this with his men, both men and women, children, sucklings or infants, and oxen and asses and sheep with the edge of the sword. Verse 20. And one of the sons of Ahimelech, the son of Ahitub, named Abiathar, escaped and fled after David. Verse 21. And Abiathar showed David that Saul had slain the Lord's priest. Even though he wasn't in the slaughter, Doeg did it. But God is charging it to Saul because he ordered this to be done. Verse 22. And David said unto Abiathar, I knew it that day when Doeg the Edomite was there, that he would surely tell Saul, I have occasioned or caused the death of all the persons of thy father's house. So it's because of me that all of your family was killed. But then he says in verse 23, stay or abide thou with me. You abide or stay with me. Don't be afraid, fear not. For he that seeketh my life seeketh thy life. He's trying to kill both of us. But with me thou shalt be in safeguard, or with me I will protect you. And so this is the intensity of King Saul to continue to search for David, who is now not the king, but he's consecrated to be king by God through Samuel in 1 Samuel chapter 16. So all of this is that Saul is doing to David, is preparing David how to become the king when he has gone through this period of discipline. So when we're going through things, we don't count it a loss. We count it as being refined according to the will of God to determine our place in heaven and what our jobs will be. because there will be working in the heaven and the new heaven and the new earth, because we will reign with Christ over the Jews and the peoples that are in the earth, the kingdom of God in heaven and in earth. So, thank you all. We'll just continue on next time. We've done 22 chapters, so we got a little ways to go. But thank you all. Have a good day and a good week, and you all be good. Bye.